way now to check on them.
Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Star Trek S.T.D. Topic of discussion this week is going to be horror in Trek. Is there enough of it? Is there a lack thereof? Well, we're going to get into it real quick here with a top 4 list of my favorite horror Trek moments. Before I get into the meat and potatoes here, I have to advise you I'm sick, so I may sound a little bit different, and I might hear some coughing in the background because of my son. But if you'll forgive us for that, also, if I take a second here to acknowledge the Max Payne fan movie that just went on my channel, I think last week. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's a passion project of mine. I saw it to completion. I think it turned out really well. It's only 5 minutes. If you'll, go check it out. If you like it, tell me in the comments. If you don't like it, tell me in the comments. But, take the time, take a look at it. Tell me what you think. Alright, now back to the rest of the regular episode here.
We're on vector for warp. We're ready to go.
So, what will qualify as scary, at least for Star Trek? Space itself is kind of scary in that it's unknown, and there's always an unknown variable, so it's always kind of generally scary in space. That being said, I would say when, the unknown reveals itself to be hostile, I would say that's a pretty good definition of scary. Not a clear way to win. No, not even a clear way to defend yourself. I think that's very scary. So, let's go with that. And, let's see what we got here.
To perform a search of the area.
Coming in at number 4 is Nightmare on Helm Street. Responding to a distress signal, the Enterprise comes upon the slaughtered crew of the Britannia, all murdered in gruesome, brutal close engagements. Slit throats, knives buried in skulls. Upon realizing the whole crew is dead, for I believe it was days, the investigation comes to a head when they realize they're stuck in a temporal rift. The reason for the violent deaths were fear and sleep deprivation, a very real thing. So it's kind of using its roots from being on ships and stuff. There's that kind of isolation factor. Not to mention they were in, a temporal rift, so it was doing something unknown. It was an unknown variable to the situation on top of those things you'd see in historical, real things, like people going stir crazy and stuff. So it adds that unknown factor, which is, it's brilliant.
Aye, aye, Captain.
It's good.
Scanning target.
Yeah, so that's Nightmare on Helm Street. That's a really cool episode. You should definitely go revisit that. I mean, all the ones on this top 4 list, that being the 4th, are all found in TNG. That gives me time to do more videos on other ones. I'll do a top 4 in TOS and Voyager and Deep Space Nine, that stuff. So there's always more there. But anyway, yeah, Nightmare on Helm Street, and it's also a cool play on, you can't even kind of acknowledge that, Nightmare on Elm Street, come on. Yeah. That's great. They don't make nothing like that no more. Well, tell me what you think. Go see that episode, or if you have seen it, tell me what you thought of it. Was it one of your favorite episodes? Did you hate that episode? Do you think this list is baloney? I shot a spooky doppelganger of a man. Sorry, I had to say it in the Herbert voice. All right.
arriving at our destination. Aye, aye, Captain. Bring her to full stop.
Yeah, this one's kind of a time travel episode. Interesting one about this. Picard travels 6 hours to the future and meets a version of himself. I will say this one, the story completed in a way that was very dumb. He shoots his he shoots his doppelganger. It's not really a spoiler. So he shoots. It doesn't work for Picard. I mean, that's kind of like they made that for Kirk, I guess. I don't know. But Picard never really takes a shoot first, ask questions later approach, and it's unusual to see him to do that in general. But the concept of the story is very cool. So Picard shoots his doppelganger. The doctor has the doctor figure it out. Let's see.
Raising shields.
I'm sending new data to your panel, Captain.
Locking on target. Engaging target.
Sensors fully restored.
Yeah, that one's one of those rare misses for Trek. It's just there wasn't a lot to go off there. They really wrapped that story up too loose. It wasn't tightly finished in the writing. That one wasn't fully developed. And I meant to put that one in there actually as a bummer before I even started the list. I was going to make it a top 3 and actually use that one, but I placed it wrong in my notes. So that's why you're getting a kind of weird take on that. Flaw in the floor. The Enterprise explores a dark matter nebula. The crew feels normal at first, and then, as you're seeing him uncharacteristically sloppy. I think you see Geordi with a cat, and he's just kind of walking with his head down, bad posture, stuff like that. Picard has a messy room. And then, you see more. The crew's going through something, and there's nothing clear on really what they're going through.
One hostile destroyed. Understood. Shields lowered.
And then they focus in on one of the ensigns who's merged with the hull. And I think that's taking inspiration from something called the Manhattan Experiment, which is something I've looked into and read. I'm not sure if it was a conspiracy theory, if it was a short story. I don't know, but I looked into it. It's very fascinating. Like, they were experimenting with time travel, and the ship came back, and everybody was dead, but they were merged with the hull, and it was this whole thing, kind of like an Orson Welles story.
Phaser fire control restored.
That episode carries a lot of weight with me because I like to think that it's a sacrifice in the name of science and not understanding something, or the fact that you can't possibly understand everything, and sometimes things are just going to happen and you're not going to have agency to do anything about it, especially in space. And I like that I think they should play that card more, but at the same time, I'm glad they don't play it a lot, especially now, because they beat it to death. All right. Now, that second one I just named off was my favorite, but I had to put something in front of it that just had more of an impact for me, drawing me into Star Trek in general. And that's Season 1, Skin of Evil. It's a 2-part episode, I think, with the death of Tasha Yar. Before seeing this episode, I had never recalled a character, at least a recurring character in a show, being killed off. That tar monster sucks the life out of her, and it kills her nobly, trying to render aid to downed shuttle crew. In total, 4 dead. It's a heavy episode, and they have this nice ceremony for her on the holodeck there, and she somehow made a thing, but I guess like a holotape that plays, and I guess everybody, I guess would probably, I guess that makes sense, yeah.
Shield emitters restored. Engines are fully operational.
Engines restored.
It was truly the Game of Thrones of his time, that episode. They're killing off that main character in a brutal fashion, leaving it just out of nowhere. And that was season 1. That I believe was the end of season 1. And I tuned in ever since after that because there was continuity there. It felt like it had weight, and I didn't recall a lot of shows doing that at the time. And
Establishing lock.
I believe when you make Star Trek, depth and levity add more than big names or CGI ever could. It's all in the story and how you tell it, how you come up with conclusions to solve problems, your wit, your character building. How are they,
Targeting.
Stellar core eruption is imminent. Updating impact path. We need to break out of here, Captain. Stellar core has erupted. Wait for impact in 60 seconds.
So that's my top 4 list. Tell me what you thought about it in the comments below. I did want to cover one other thing. In Janeway's, the way Janeway led her crew, there was a way they wrote her, she didn't have to stick her feet in front of a camera. Whatever that shit was in Starfleet Academy. She led, and she was believable as a commander, and she commanded respect. She wasn't a fucking dunce. She wasn't a pushover. And the way they have completely swapped that out, I say all this because, as someone who tries to speak on the positive, and he was able to find some with Discovery, I have no positives about Starfleet Academy. It's awful.
Updating your reader, Captain.
I had heard they were upset nobody was watching it, but they didn't treat the character with continuity or respect from the start. If you're gonna play that, then no one's gonna back you up. No one. Yeah, you see? But now I'm getting on a rant, which is exactly what I didn't want to do. But yeah, so we're going to close down the podcast for the day. This has been episode 3 of STD. Make sure you stop over and check out that Max Payne thing I worked on. Also check out Berlin Underground, Agent 47's latest mission. Make sure you pay a visit over to Sci-Fi Guy, where he's got some content coming at you from the Star Trek universe as well. He's doing his own thing over there. It's pretty cool. I've been watching. All right. We'll see you on the next episode. Take it easy.
Warp coils ready.
Charged.
Warp vector aligned. Course plotted. Aye.
We're clear.